friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I'm going to be working on my next two projects with the Bloom Story Kit for this month's StoryKitCrush challenge. If StoryKitCrush is something you've never heard of before, the concept is pretty simple. It's just to take a kit that you have in your stash and to try and use as much of it as possible in the course of 1 month. I am currently crushing the Bloom kit, and I typically let everybody know what kit I'm working on next in case you want to do it right alongside me, but it doesn't mean that you have to have the Bloom kit in order to participate. You can participate with any kit that you have in your stash. So today I have two projects that I am going to complete, and both of them are in sizes that I don't typically, well, I work in them, I would say, but they're not like my go-to sizes. So the first one is going to be a traveler's notebook spread inside of my pocket page notebook. A pocket page notebook is essentially a notebook where there is a pocket in between the two white pages. So you can do something fun with the pocket here, or to relate it to both sides, or you could stick a photo in and have that be a spread and then the next page be a spread. I get these from the Stamp Spot, which is a store out of Australia. So for today, I have a spread that I will be putting inside of this book, just about looking on the bright side of things when life gets hard, to look on the bright side. The other story I'm telling is going to be in a 12 by 12 format, and this one is all about my husband. So I took inspiration from this card that says, "So love watching you bloom," and I wanted to talk about how much he has grown into this role that he has now at his job. So he switched from an environmental science degree that he had gotten, and then he was working as a teller for a bank, and then about 5.5 years ago, he switched to IT and went and got a degree in that as well, and has just been thriving in that career field. So I wanted to tell a story about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put you on fast forward while I get this spread put together, and then once everything is done, we will slow back down and I will close out the video. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to start out today by working on the 12 by 12 spread first, mostly because I'm just really excited to work on this page. I think it's going to come together really, really well. So first, what I did is I created this spread, like a mock-up of this spread in Photoshop. And by doing that, using the digital kit, I was able to print the photo of my husband with the computer in front of him, where the computer could serve as a home for the words of this card. So the size of the computer on the picture itself is roughly the 4x6 size, although it might be even bigger than that, honestly, in order to fit all those words on. So what that meant I could do is I could fussy cut the words "so love watching you bloom" out of the 4x6 journaling card, and then I could re-adhere those words down on top of the exterior of his laptop there. And I just think that it turns out so cool. It's just one of those things that just worked out. You know, I had thought about taking a picture of my husband with his headphones on because that's what he looks like when he's working. And I had him kind of pose in front of his computer screen, and I just never thought that this is how this would turn out. And I just think it's so cool. Anyway, so I am just adding some roller adhesive to the back of those words and then sticking them onto the computer screen so that they interact with the edge of the computer. And then once I do that, I'm going to create the spot for the interactive journaling card. So what I wanted to do was to add some journaling onto this card that says the story, and then to create a hidden pocket or a hidden slit there where I could stick the journaling back behind the photo, where the top of the computer screen meets my husband's shirt. So I measured roughly the distance that I needed to cut a slit in this photo, and then went ahead and used a ruler plus my craft knife to create a slit where I could then put the journaling card back behind the photo, but still have the top of it poking out. Once I have that done, I stuck the journaling card in there just so I could see where that was going to go, because then I needed to add my double-sided adhesive. This is the 1/4 inch score tape from scrapbook.com. I added it around the perimeter of the photo and then above where the journaling card is going to be, just to help hold that down. I adjusted the journaling card so that it was where I wanted it to be, and then I put another strip of adhesive just slightly underneath where the journaling card would end once it was slipped inside of the pocket. After I've got all of that adhesive applied, I'm going to take off the backing and then adhere this photo onto the 12 by 12 canvas. I'm sorry about my head there. I just needed to make sure that everything was going on there straight. So now the photo is permanently adhered down onto the cardstock there, and then you can see where that slit is, so the card can go back behind it. So you see the story, and then you can pull up on the card and then see the journaling that is written on the underneath of it. Next, what I wanted to do was to create a border of separation in between the photo and the embellishing side of this spread. So I used my tiny phrase stickers to create just a line of text that went from the bottom of the page to the top of the page right next to the photo, just using the words and the phrases that seemed to go the best with this particular story that I was telling. And it just so worked that all of the text could get on there, so nothing got cut off that, made a sentiment not make sense anymore, if that makes sense. So now we've got that on there. And the last thing I want to do is to add these 3 plastic flowers onto the side of the page. So I just need to remove off the plastic covering. So there's like a little plastic film that's on top of the flowers. I scratched it a little bit in order to get it to come up and then removed that off. Then I'm going to position these all onto the page and get them where I want to go. Once I have them where I want them to go, I will use my tiny attacher to actually attach the flowers onto the page. And then I'm going to add these 3 embellishments on top of them. So when I ordered the Bloom kit, I also got the felt flowers as an add-on, and I love the way that they look in the center of these flowers here as well. It gives this page a little bit more texture, a little bit more dimension, and I think that it just helps everything feel a little bit more complete, I suppose, not as flat as it would have been otherwise. So I went ahead, attached those flowers with my tiny attacher, and then I'm going to use my embellishments on top of those, so you barely will even see, if at all, the staples underneath. I used the cork word bloom and put that across the center of the maroon colored flower. I keep wanting to call them hearts, but they are flowers. And then I will add the maroon colored felt flower on the yellow one, and then the gray felt flower on top of the pink flower, plastic flower. So there we go. So we've got everything layered up. The last thing I'm going to do with this spread is just date stamp it so I know when it was that I recorded the story, and then that will complete this particular spread, and we'll move on to the second one for today, which is going to be in that pocket page notebook. So there we go. I really love how this spread turned out. So for the next one, we're working in a pocket page notebook, which is a traveler's notebook sized album. So that is 4 1/4 wide by 8 1/4 tall. I wanted to use this sentiment here as my jumping off point. So it says, may the flowers remind us why the rain was necessary. And what I'm going to do is to trim that 4 by 6 card down so that it is 4 by 4 1/4 essentially. And then I'm going to actually take the yellow part with all of the text there and trim that completely off so that I can use it as my title. I debated keeping the white part on there, and then ultimately I decided I liked it better without it. So we'll add some adhesive and put that at the top of my journaling page. This journaling here I printed on plain white cardstock, and I just printed it at the 4 1/4 by 8 1/4 sizing. That way I know that it will fit perfectly inside of my album. The card is a tad bit too wide, so I'm just going to trim off the excess right there so that it is perfectly right for the album. And then where you see that little bit of space in between the title and the text, I thought would be a great spot to add these 3 felt flowers. So I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided adhesive on the back of them. And then I'm going to stick them right at the top in that white space area of this card. The opposite page of this, so not the pocket, but the opposite page is going to be filled with a bunch of different ephemera pieces that are going to be super chunky, and that doesn't bother me. I know a lot of times when working in traveler's notebooks, there's, you want to keep your embellishments kind of thinner so that your albums don't get too bulky. For me, especially with these ones, I really don't care. It's fine if it gets super bulky. Some of it's just for the process of doing it, and the fun of making the spreads. And it doesn't matter if it's like hard to close or anything like that, at least for me. The picture here is a picture that I took of some flowers on my dining room table, and I printed it on vellum because I wanted to be able to see through to the back side of this page, and then again I wanted to see through to the front side when that pocket is flipped over to the opposite side, which you can kind of see there, the text through the vellum photo. So we've got the left side of this page done. Next, we're going to work on the right side of the page. So for this one, I am literally just going to take an entire tray of embellishments and stick them onto the page. And this is what I mean by bulk. There are some chipboard pieces, so those are a bit bulky. I could have removed some of the chipboard and that would have kept this a little bit flatter. But I actually really liked how having the different levels of thickness on the page gave this a little bit more interest and dimension. So I left it as is. But if this is something that you want to try and you don't want your album to be bulky like mine, then that is what I would suggest doing, is just removing some layers of the cardstock back behind the cardstock tags and then adhering those down onto the page just with some roller adhesive or some liquid glue. Either way would work. Now, when I project planned this spread out, I just so happened to come up with a layout where I could fit all of the die cuts that I wanted to put on here and all of the chipboard tags that I wanted to put on here, because some of them I set aside to put in some other projects. To help me remember where I put everything, I did sketch it out, which you can see in the upper left-hand corner there as well. So then I just went ahead, adhered everything down, filled out the little journaling areas on those ephemera bits, and then called this page done. All right, friends, that finishes my spread for today. My spreads, I should say, for today. So I've got the 12 by 12 spread over here about Erin. That's got the pull out journaling card. It comes all the way out and has journaling the whole way down, but I'm just going to keep it in there for ease. And then I've got my pocket page notebook here where I've got a full page of journaling, the picture I took of the flowers I bought myself, and then a collage page on the right here, which I think looks really cool. Yes, it is bulky, so it will add to the bulk of this book, but I think that that's totally fine. It doesn't really bother me, and I can always take out pages or, reduce down if I need to and make this into 2 books instead of 1. So that is that. All right, well, I hope that you enjoyed seeing these 2 spreads come together today. If you did, I would love a thumbs up on this video down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you're there if you haven't already, so you can be sure to see all of my future crafty videos. I will be back again next week with my last video where I will be putting together 3 last stories using this same Bloom story kit. And then after that, this kit will officially be crushed and we'll be on to our next story kit. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.